Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. The 2025 NFL Draft begins tomorrow, and this year's draft is shaping up to be fairly unpredictable. We haven't seen any massive trades yet. After pick 3, things could get really wild, and we're expecting to see a lot of movement on draft day. No one really knows what's going to go down on Thursday night, but we're going to do our best to predict that today with our mini mock draft. We're going to be predicting the top 10 picks in this year's draft. Number 1 through number 10. Picks 11 through 32. We'll have more analysis on those over on our Twitter at Gridiron Expert, or over on our X account now at Gridiron Expert. And of course, we'll have tons of analysis for you on there on Thursday night. And then back here on Friday on the channel, breaking down the winners and the losers from round 1 of the draft. So a lot of content still coming your way. But let's go ahead and jump in to this mini mock draft here at our channel. The Tennessee Titans are on the clock. They announced they're not going to be trading. They announced they're locked into that number 1 spot. And it's a pretty big no-brainer. It would be one of the biggest shocks we've seen in a long time if the Titans do not select Cam Ward, the quarterback out of Miami. This feels like a lock right now and a pick that we can feel very confident about. The Will Levis experiment for the Titans didn't pan out. You know, he fell down the draft boards a few years ago, gets picked by the Titans, threw for less than 4,000 yards in 2 years, 21 touchdowns to 16 interceptions, completed just 61% of his passes. It just didn't work out. The Titans are kind of in a rebuild mode, fairly new coach, fairly young team. They want to get their franchise guy, and Cam Ward can be just that. Stands at 6'2", has got a great frame, arguably has the strongest arm in this class, an absolute cannon for an arm, fresh off a 4,300-plus yard season with Miami, 39 touchdowns, just 7 interceptions. In his career, Cam Ward has 178 total touchdowns in his career with Incarnate Word, Washington State, and Miami, to just 37 interceptions. So he's a big-time playmaker, takes great care of the football, and this is going to be a great fresh start for the Titans to get what they hope is their franchise quarterback to compete in what is a relatively wide-open AFC South. With the second overall pick, the Cleveland Browns are on the clock. And this is where things could get interesting. What the Browns do with the second pick, assuming they don't trade out. We are hearing reports that the Browns and the Giants could end up trading out of the number 2 and number 3 spot. But what the Browns do is going to dictate how the rest of the entire draft goes. They could go quarterback. They could go best available. They could go for a playmaker. They could trade out. We don't know. But in this mock draft, we believe the Cleveland Browns will select Travis Hunter, the big-time playmaker, the reigning Heisman Trophy winner out of Colorado, playing both wide receiver and cornerback. And he expects to play both wide receiver and cornerback. Said if a team tries to make him play just one side of the ball, he doesn't want to play at all. The Browns need talent, right? They need a long-term quarterback eventually, but they've committed to Joe Flacco for this year, and I don't think this quarterback class is particularly strong. Travis Hunter can be a guy that is a multi-year playmaker, could be one of the top playmakers in the league as time goes on. He had over 1,200 reception yards last year with Colorado to go with 15 touchdowns, had 4 interceptions on the defensive side of the ball, and the Browns don't really have that many playmakers. They had a 1,200-yard receiver last year in Jerry Jeudy, but their next best receiver was Elijah Moore at 538 yards. So about a 700-yard difference between Jerry Jeudy and Elijah Moore. They don't have many pass catchers. They don't have a lot of offensive talent. Travis Hunter can give them that spark and that speed on that side of the ball and maybe make a handful of plays on the defensive side of the ball as well. So I think Travis Hunter is going to be a great pickup for Cleveland. Could be a future star. And again, I think it's probably the smarter move here than maybe going with the quarterback or trading out. The Giants come in at number 3, and they're in a bit of a no-man's land. The Giants, they've got Russell Wilson at quarterback right now. Jameis Winston is behind him. It kind of feels like a rent-a-quarterback situation for New York. Neither of those guys I expect to be there long-term. And it kind of feels like the Giants are in no-man's land. They don't really need a quarterback right now unless they want to draft someone to wait behind Russell Wilson and prepare for the future. They might go best available. They might trade out. So again, the Giants are in a weird spot here. But with the number 3 overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, we believe the Giants will select Abdul Carter, the edge rusher out of Penn State. And again, this is a Giants team that just suffered the most losses in franchise history, 14 losses in 2024. And I think Abdul Carter is a great pickup here. Do they need Abdul Carter? Maybe not. The defensive line's already looking pretty strong in New York. This is going to make it that much better. And we saw, I mean, it's crazy for football always. We saw in the Super Bowl especially how important it is to have a dominant defensive line. Certainly need to have an offensive line too, but if you watch what the Eagles did to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, it was proven that, hey, you can win some football games and dominate football games with a dominant defensive line. The Giants have that kind of already. Abdul Carter going to make it that much better. Had a 68 tackle, 12 sack season last year with Penn State, 18.5% pressure rate for Abdul Carter last year. They ranked third in the FBS. He's got great size, great frame, great speed. Going to be a great addition to this New York defense in a year where they're kind of just trying to save face, have a mediocre year. They're not contenders, and then build towards that future later on. Defense does win championships, and Abdul Carter could be the cornerstone for that for the future. Coming in at number 4, New England Patriots. They were big-time movers in free agency. Made a lot of movements, especially on the defensive side of the ball. It's a new era up in New England, right? Mike Vrabel comes in, an actually competent coach in New England this year. They've got a franchise guy in Drake May, who we're going to get to see more of. Finally, a full year of him being the starter. So where do they go from here? The defense has been reworked. They went out and got Stephon Diggs. We originally thought the Patriots might want to go with a wide receiver early on if they hadn't gotten him. But I think the logical point here with the number 4 overall pick is to go offensive tackle, and they select Will Campbell out of LSU. Sure, the Patriots could trade back. The Patriots could look for somebody else here. But again, with the amount of moves that Mike Vrabel made on the defensive side of the ball, with the addition of Stephon Diggs and some young playmakers they drafted last year, they've got to find a way to protect their quarterback in Drake May, who was under pressure nonstop last season. Now, Will Campbell is kind of getting a lot of hate right now. Everybody's trying to criticize his arm length. But the arm length, like as he said, didn't really matter to people back when he played at LSU. He was dominant up front at LSU, rarely allowed any sacks. But now all of a sudden his arm length is an issue. He was going up against some of the best defensive prospects in the league and in the draft playing in the mighty SEC. 6'6", 323 pounds, should be a day one starter, a plug-and-play fit for New England. They're going offensive line all the way here at number 4 if they don't trade back. Will Campbell more than likely going to be their guy. And at number 5, the Jacksonville Jaguars on the clock here. They are to me in a similar spot to the Giants, kind of this weird no man's land, and they could go any direction. And obviously, when a team is in that spot, you typically say, hey, let's go best available, right? Let's go best available, not really focusing on a specific need. They've got a new head coach in Liam Cohen, and they've got good talent, right? Trevor Lawrence is still young and has the ability to continue to be the franchise quarterback in Jacksonville. You've got Travis Etienne, you've got Tank Bigsby, you've got Brian Thomas, you've got offensive talent there. That makes me think the Jaguars probably won't go offense at number 5 unless Travis Hunter somehow falls all the way down to number 5, all the way into lap. I think the Jaguars go defense here. And with the number 5 overall pick, they select Mason Graham out of Michigan. A lot of people expect him to go here, and a lot of people say, well, maybe the Jags go Ashton Genty, maybe they go Tedero McMillan out of Arizona. But again, defense wins championships. And the Jaguars, with an offensive-minded coach now and some young talent they already have, I think can get more offensive talent later in the draft rather than not getting it at number 5. Wait later and get the later guys. Focus on what's the biggest need right now. It's their defense, which really wasn't all that great. The Jaguars only posting 34 sacks last year and allowing over 132 rushing yards per game. Graham's going to help them fix those issues after posting 7.5 tackles for a loss last year, 3.5 sacks, and 26 pressures. He's an immediate starter down in Jacksonville, has the ability to disrupt every single play. That's the more logical, smart pick for Jacksonville, considering they do have some talent already. And again, the running back draft class is very strong, and they can get some other talent offensively later on in the draft, as early as round 2. Coming in at number 6, the Las Vegas Raiders, looking for a new identity with Pete Carroll as their head coach. They made a massive move landing Geno Smith, so they've got themselves a quarterback. The Raiders really didn't have a quarterback last year. They've got one now. Geno Smith is here in Vegas, but he needs help. He needs playmaker help. They don't have anybody. Really don't have any great wide receivers. Really don't have any great running backs. The Raiders logically are going to go offense with the number 6 overall pick. And with that pick, we believe the Raiders will select Ashton Genty, the running back out of Boise State. Had over 2,600 rushing yards last year, including nearly 1,970 rushing yards after contact. He is a bulldozer. Averaged 7 yards per carry. The Raiders last year were the worst in the league averaging just 3.6 yards per carry. He's a hard-nosed runner. He is hard to bring down. He is an immediate playmaker and an underrated pass-catching back as well. This guy gives me Marshawn Lynch type vibes. And if you remember Pete Carroll and Marshawn Lynch, those great days they had in Seattle, he reminds me a lot of him, his style of play and how hard he is to tackle. This is a perfect fit for the Raiders. You've got your quarterback. Now you've got a running back to complement him. The perfect fit as they try to rebuild their franchise with Pete Carroll, who is a fantastic head coach, may not be there long, but can make his mark immediately in year one out in Vegas. In at number 7, the New York Jets. When will the Jets not have a top 10 pick? That should be the goal going forward. The Jets, avoid being in the top 10. Maybe not the playoffs, but not the top 10. They need desperate help, right? The Jets have been just horrendous for so many years. What's it been, 15 years since they've made the playoffs? I mean, it's been a long, long drought for the Jets. Close to 15 years, I should say. There's a lot of options the Jets could go here, right? They did land Justin Fields out of Pittsburgh, so they've got themselves a quarterback after the whole Aaron Rodgers debacle that really didn't pan out over the last 2 years. So Justin Fields is there, a chance to prove himself again as a starter. He has a little bit of weapons on the outside at wide receiver. Got a great running back in Breece Hall. So what did the Jets do here? With the 7th overall pick in the draft, I believe the Jets go on the offensive line, Armand Membu out of Missouri, the offensive tackle. You could argue the Jets go Tyler Warren. I know they really, really like Tyler Warren, the star tight end out of Penn State, but I think you've got to address the offensive line here and protecting Justin Fields. The Jets didn't protect Rodgers well at all the last 2 years. They allowed 40 sacks last year. Really weren't all that great. Morgan Moses is now gone out of New York. They need someone to come in and replace him. I think Membu can be that guy. Some people project him to be the best offensive lineman in this draft. Maybe not Will Campbell. Maybe not Kelvin Banks. No, Membu, he has the chance. He only allowed 1 sack last year at Missouri on 391 pass blocks. He is a dang good offensive tackle with huge size, great frame, long arms, and also a lot more fast than people realize, much quicker than people realize. This would be a home run pick for the Jets. I know fans maybe would love another playmaker in Tyler Warren, but playmakers will not matter if your quarterback doesn't have time to get the ball out. Go offensive line, protect Justin Fields. With the 8th overall pick, the Panthers are on the clock. And look, the Panthers, they're not as bad as people think, right? The Panthers might be better than people realize. 5-12 last year is not great, but they had 3 one-possession losses in their final 7 games. 3 one-possession losses in their final 7 games. 2 of those came to the Chiefs and the Eagles, 2 teams that met the Super Bowl. They were relatively competitive down the stretch last year. Bryce Young started to hit his stride again. The offense was a little bit better with some young playmakers, but the defense is still atrocious. The defense had the worst scoring defense in the league, only posted 32 sacks, which is why, logically, with the 8th overall pick, the Carolina Panthers will select Jalen Walker, the edge rusher out of Georgia, and really a guy that can play everywhere, right? He can play defensive end, he can play linebacker, he can play all over the field, kind of just that Swiss Army knife defensive player for Jalen Walker. A guy that had 61 tackles last year with the Bulldogs, 6.5 sacks, and a guy that immediately, as a rookie, could come in and anchor this defense in Carolina in what's a weak NFC South. I mean, think about it. The Falcons, the Bucks. I mean, the Bucks are going to be the favorites, sure, but the Bucks, the Falcons, and the Saints. I'm not saying the Carolina's going to contend for a division crown, but I'm saying they could compete because the division is so weak. And if they can improve on the defensive side of the ball, you better watch out. Walker can be that guy. This is an offense that still has Bryce Young. This is a running back in Chuba Hubbard that rushed for nearly 1,200 yards last year. The offense, I think, is going to be okay, and they'll add more pieces throughout this draft. You got to address the defense. Jalen Walker is a home run pick at number 8. Number 9, the New Orleans Saints are on the clock. This is the pick I think we're all waiting for, right? What will the Saints do at number 9? What are they going to do? They could go so many different directions, and a lot of people believe they're going to go with quarterback because Derek Carr's hurt. They need some help there. And even if it's not going to be a guy that can immediately contribute in year 1, which he probably would, a guy they could see being their future. That's what they believe. And at this time last week, I would have agreed with you. I would have said, yeah, Saints are going quarterback, probably going to be Shedeur Sanders, assuming he's not taken earlier, and we'll go from there. I don't believe that anymore. Shedeur Sanders, we're hearing more and more, is not as much liked by the Saints as we originally thought. They could be leaning more towards Jackson Dart. And the Saints overall might not even want a quarterback at number 9. They knew Derek Carr had an injury. That was not a surprise to the Saints franchise. May have been to us, but not the Saints franchise. They also spoke so highly of Spencer Rattler, not that he's going to be the franchise guy, but maybe a guy that you just bide your time with this year and with a weak quarterback class, and in a year where the Saints know they're not going to be contenders. New head coach in Kellen Moore, who's never been a head coach before. Massive questions on the offensive line. Massive questions at quarterback. This is not a year they're going to compete. So why waste a top 10 pick on a quarterback that might not pan out when you could maybe get a guy later in free agency or in next year's draft? So with the number 9 overall pick, the New Orleans Saints don't select a quarterback. They select a playmaker for their future quarterback and take Tetairoa McMillan out of Arizona. This could surprise a lot of people. Maybe it's a little bit bold, but I'm beginning to think, again, the Saints don't go quarterback. Last year, the Saints, reception-wise, 3,730 reception yards by the team as a whole. 1,833 of those came from wide receivers. So only 49.1% of the team's total reception yards came from wide receivers. The rest are from tight ends and running backs. That's not acceptable. That's not good enough. Chris Olave was the number 4 receiver, the number 4 pass catcher last year. He only played in 8 games, only had 400 yards. That's not good enough. Hopefully Olave can stay healthier, but they need more playmakers. Kamara's getting older. They don't have any wide receiver help. McMillan can be that guy. Stands at 6'4" with a huge frame and can win those 50-50 balls. Over 1,300 reception yards last year at Arizona with 8 touchdowns. Over 1,400 reception yards and 10 touchdowns in 2023. This is a home run pick. He's one of the best wide receivers, if not the best receiver in this draft class. And this gives the Saints a long-term wide receiver 1 for whoever their quarterback is going to be. Whether they select someone later in this draft, whether they select someone next year, whether they get someone in free agency, this is a guy that can be there for a long, long time and be one of the better weapons in that division. They don't go quarterback. They get themselves a playmaker for their future quarterback, Tetairoa McMillan, at number 9. And wrapping up this mini mock draft, we got number 10, the Chicago Bears. Similar to the Jets, just find a way eventually, Bears, to get out of the top 10. Have a better year where you can avoid the top 10. But the Bears, look, the future is bright. They've got a new head coach in Ben Johnson. They're excited about him and the offense he's going to bring to Chicago, especially with the young quarterback in Caleb Williams. But we mentioned with the Jets, same thing. The Bears, I'm sure, would love Tyler Warren, who still has not been picked yet in our draft. Would love another playmaker to help Caleb Williams. But the playmakers can't make the plays if the quarterback is constantly on the ground. The Bears gave up 68 sacks last year. 68 sacks. And while they did address that need in free agency and added plenty of offensive line help, they need more. So with the 10th overall pick in this year's NFL draft, the Chicago Bears select Kelvin Banks, the offensive tackle out of Texas. Again, I could see them going Tyler Warren here. I could see them just saying, hey, best available, let's get this tight end, make him a playmaker, we'll do offensive line later, or they think the guys they got in free agency is good enough. But again, I think you've got to protect what you believe is your franchise quarterback. Banks, one of the best offensive tackles in this draft. His wingspan, 84 3/8 inches. Huge offensive lineman here, and he moves extremely well for a guy that stands at 6'5", 315 pounds. With the top 2 offensive tackles already gone, in Mbembu and Will Campbell, the Bears pretty much have to say, if we want offensive line, we have to do it now. If we don't want offensive line, you go playmaker. But if that's high on your list, you have to take it at 10 with the top 2 guys already gone. So the Bears protect Caleb Williams, continue to reinforce that offensive line, go playmaker later in the draft, and hope to compete more so in what's a very tough division in the NFC North on the Lions, the Packers, and the Vikings. So, there you go, guys. Our top 10 projected picks here at the Gridiron Expert as we approach tomorrow's NFL Draft. So much can change. This was a top 10 pick and the first top 10 picks that didn't feature any trades. That could very well happen tomorrow. We don't know what's going to happen Thursday night in Green Bay. We have no idea, but this is what we believe will happen if there are no trades tomorrow. It's what we believe is going to happen. Will it happen? Probably not, because the draft, as we know, is always full of shocks and surprises and twists and turns, and that is why it is one of the best sporting events of the year. So, Leave your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's gear up for a fantastic draft night, one that we will be recapping with you on Friday morning, so do not miss out on that. Leave your thoughts. Tell us who you think your team should pick. Are these picks outrageous? Are these picks good? Are they bad? We want to know from you down in the comments. We also want you to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home to our expert picks, home to our weekly newsletters, home to tons of exclusive content to help you get through this offseason that is going by extremely quickly. All the more reason to subscribe, hit that notification button, and become a member of our GE Nation. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on The Gridiron Expert.